Hello, everybody. This is Mary Claire with TruthQuest, and today we have our friend Bernd Helzer on to join us, who joined us not too long ago, but we're excited to have him back. Thanks for joining, Bernd.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Bernd is our CTO and one of the wonderful fearless leaders at ICANO. He's built a fantastic team who builds fantastic technology. So I'm excited to have Bernd walk us through one of the things they've built primarily for our business partners called TruthHub. So Bernd, excited to have you join and excited to kick this off. What we'll do for those listening, Bernd's actually going to demo TruthHub, so folks can actually hear what we have. TruthHub is the application that we made for our partners to create and send tests and reports. So make it as easy as possible for them to work on behalf of their clients to get them the tests and the results that they need. So, Bernd, I know, again, we had you on a few months ago to do this, but there have been a lot of additions to TruthHub. So I'm excited to share the good news, if you will, with folks.
There have, and today we're mostly going to concentrate on those additions rather than going over comprehensive review of the product.
Delightful. Well, what's a good place to start, Bernd?
Well, let's see here. We're on the homepage here, and this is kind of a good place to start. We have a couple of tasks here that they wanted us to do, but more importantly, we kind of just we're in here. We want to give a test to one of our customers. So
game on.
We should go ahead and do that.
Let's do it.
And so we just jump right here to the client tab and push on that. And then we have a few customers in here, but we're just going to add another client here. And let's call him. How about we're going with David Garcia?
Perfect.
And David has a reference in our system. He's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, and that way we can keep track of the customers in TruthHub and connect them to the customers in our system, whatever system you may have.
Perfect.
And so we'll just add this client here.
And Bernd, it's just to be clear for folks out there, the reason we have a name and email is simply for organization's sake, as opposed to us contacting that individual or even sending the test to them ourselves. Correct, Bernd?
That is correct. That is correct. This is purely for your purpose. Although we keep track of the customer by email so that we have a unique identifier for them.
Perfect. Okay. All right, we have a client. What happens next?
We have a client. Let's look at their details. So we'll click on this, and they have done nothing. There's no test. There's nothing in here, and so now we want to send them a new test. And so last time we talked a lot about the templated test that we have. Today we're just going to talk about a personalized test. And so we don't have a standard test that we want to give here. We actually want to create a test from scratch, and we're going to do that. We're just going to click this Add Personalized Test button, and we can enter in a bunch of questions here and have our AI suggest what we're doing. We're going to go through that in a separate episode as well. So for today, we're just going to go to the tags, and we're saying, like, you know what? I have a fidelity test that I want to present to this customer. And so we'll just click on those tags, and that should give us a series of questions that we can potentially ask. Now, with this TruthQuest or with this TruthHub test, we can ask up to 3 questions. So we can go in here and select some questions that we want, and maybe we want to have 1, maybe we have 2. And you know, the real question everybody wants to know is really, do I love whoever my partner is?
Yeah.
And so, but it turns out we have a really hard time of asking that questions directly. So if we select it, you know, we get prompts like, look, we can't ask this directly, but here's some questions that we could ask that may solve that problem.
And just as a reminder, everybody, the reason we can't ask that question, no lie detection technology can, because we can only ask questions that relate to previous or in the past actions, behaviors, and events rather than feelings or intentions. And love is a feeling. So it's hard to measure. Therefore, we can't create a test or a question that's appropriate for a lie detection test here.
Yeah, it's very well said. And so we're going to look at this. Maybe we'll ask this question here. Have I told anybody you don't love this person? And so we'll select that question. And maybe we also select this question here. And you notice some of these have blank fields in there, and we'll have to fill them in. And we'll do that right now. But having selected questions, we also have to select comparison questions here that work. And typically, when we select comparison questions, we want to select comparison questions that are actually related to the questions that we have selected. And so, and the system tries to help us out here, and it tries to look at comparison questions and say like, hey, here's some related questions. That you can ask.
So again, as a reminder, the comparison question for folks out there who don't do this on a day-to-day basis, when we're giving somebody a test, we can ask up to 3, as Bernd said, ask up to 3 questions on a relevant topic. So the things that people really want to know the truth about. But we base our measurements on a baseline, if you will. So we ask a question to understand how the eye reacts when somebody's telling the truth. Usually the comparison questions are related, but slightly more extreme situations that it's unlikely the person will have done. So we can capture their eye telling the truth and then compare that to how their eye reacts to when asked about the relevant questions.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and in the unlikely event that your customer has actually done some of these comparison questions, we'll have to redo the test with a different comparison question that they have not done in order to get some good results on the test.
Well said.
And so we'll pick some. We can create the test now, but before we create the test, we have to fill in the blank values here. And so so David's love interest, I guess her name is Amy. So we're just gonna put in her name here, and so that'll be in the question. And we can see up here, it'll fill in the question and let us know what the question will actually look like.
So great.
Preview the question. The actual questions in the test will be worded slightly different than the preview we see here, so that they fit with the structure of the test. But these are the typical questions. So we'll do this. This question is a little more complicated. And so we really want to ask about, had they had sexual contact with anyone, and let's say except for, and we can just pick one of these, or we can just type in Amy here. And we're going to skip this last one. We're just going to disable that, and we don't need a sense. So. And that gives us the fill-in for the next question. And once we've done all of those fill-ins, it will create a test. It will generate the template and then generate the test for this user. And when we're done with that, then we're ready to go. We can send this test out to David Garcia for him to take the test.
You've made it so easy, Bernd. The last time we did this, and templates are still appropriate, particularly from a customized perspective, or even if you have a very standard situation. Pre-employment testing is one where they pretty much ask the same questions, but to give our partners the capability to build their own tests on their own time, exactly when they need them, it's amazing. People have been asking for it, and of course you guys have delivered, so thank you. So we copy the test. So we got the test link here, and then what is our partner?
Copy the test link, and then you can contact your customer whichever way you prefer, whether it's by email, by text, or whatever your preferred method is, and you can send them the test link.
Delightful.
Or if you have them take the test in-house, you could just take the test right here then.
Yeah, we just had a partner on Friday give a test in-house, and they were able to administer the instructions in person and set up an appropriate. They have a dedicated room in their office to give these tests. And then other clients, I'll send them the instructions they need to, or somebody in our team will send them the instructions they need to give and send along with the test link to ensure a high quality test result. Okay, so the test takes, as I don't know if anybody's listened to any of our podcasts, so tests take anywhere 15 to 18 or so minutes to take, on average about 15 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes later, the test or the report will show up in TruthHub. The one on Friday actually was less than 10 minutes that the report showed up into TruthHub, which was great. And then from there, we can either send a link to the report, we can add a password onto that link to protect it, we can download the report. Is that correct, Bernd?
Yeah, that's correct. So we can, obviously you have access to the test results, but if you want to share the test result with somebody else, your client or third party or whoever, you can send a link to that, and that can be password protected if you want to.
Yeah, that's great. Bernd, thanks for showing us the new features here. Is there anything else you think would be helpful for folks to know or understand?
Well, we're hoping that we're making this really easy for you to use so that you can just come in here, add a client, add a test, get the test done, get the results back, and there's nothing standing in the way for you doing that. Obviously, we sometimes fall short. If you see any improvements, just please let us know.
And for anybody that needs a very custom test, we're still writing tests for our partners as well. But we're trying to give them, as Bernd said, especially our private investigative partners out there, as much flexibility, give them the flexibility they need in terms of getting a test when they need it while maintaining the level of accuracy in our tests, because a big part of accuracy is having the right questions. And so Bernd and his team have done a fantastic job of continuing to build the bridge of using technology to what our test raters have been doing and inputting that into here to make it as easy as possible for partners to use. So major high fives, Bernd.
Yeah, thank you. And that's an important point to follow up on too, that in order for these tests to be valid, we are very careful in constructing these questions. And that's why we have a bunch of pre-vetted questions. And sometimes that's sufficient for you, sometimes it is not, as Mary Claire was saying. And please come to us if you need any customization, any help outside of those questions that we have.
Delightful. Bernd, thanks for joining. I know we'll keep having you on as we add more and more features to TruthHub, but for our current partner or anybody that's considering becoming a partner, the main message about TruthHub has been it's a no-brainer in terms of it's easy to use, easy to get in, to add your partners or members in, easy to add clients, easy to send tests and create tests, as Bernd just showed, and deliver reports. So Bernd, thank you so much for joining. For anybody that enjoyed this podcast, please feel free to share on Spotify, Apple, wherever it is you so choose to listen to your podcasts. And we look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you. Thanks, Bernd.
Thanks.